I will start the call in a second, but I just wanted to share with you a very interesting thing that happened today in the run-up to this call. And obviously, as I'm sure you all know, being consciously evolved, spiritually evolved evolutionaries, that it's very interesting to always notice what occurs in the run-up to any session like this, especially when we're going to be discussing some of the subjects that I put in the email, the invitation email this morning, because I created two emails. One was the main email, which went out at about 10 o'clock this morning, and then there was a second email, which was just a very simple, plain vanilla reminder, which went out at about 4 p.m. And the interesting thing was I received the source emails myself on a variety of different emails. And all of the emails arrived to me except those that were sent this morning to my Google Mail accounts. And the emails this morning didn't arrive anywhere into Google Mail. They didn't arrive into my main inbox, into spam, or into trash. They were completely obliterated from the system. Yet the later innocuous email that I sent at 4 p.m. came into my main inbox fine, as have all the previous source emails the e-shots that I've sent. So that was a very interesting red flag for me, because it kind of proved beyond any doubt that Google is now censoring, along with YouTube and Facebook. Google is now actually stopping, completely obliterating emails which contain references to some of the things that I put in the emails. Now, if you had I'd love to hear from you if you did get an email through via Gmail and Google Mail, because I will give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there was a system error, but it seemed very, very suspicious. So it's been a very interesting day. Another massive trigger for me today was my son came home from school, reporting the extent of the insanity that is now prevailing within schools as the children go back. Not only having to wear masks in the break times in corridors, being told to keep the mask in a Ziploc bag at all times when it's not being worn to prevent transfer of infections, and having to gel his hands at the beginning on entry to every lesson, into every new room that he went into during his day. He had to gel his hands, so he must have gelled his hands like a dozen times today with the alcohol rub, which is really, not great for your skin. So that was an interesting thing, and massive restrictions around lunch, and it just seems to me that things are getting to become quite outrageous out there. Oh, hi, Angela.
Hi. You have two addresses with me. One is my Yahoo address and one is my Gmail, Angela Spink address.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, I only got one of the first invitation, the one with all the spiel, and it came from the Yahoo address. So I didn't receive that email to my Google email, but I got both of the reminders in both the emails. Yes. So that's interesting.
So that's interesting that your experience corroborates mine. So unless there was some system, but I received the email in many of the other email accounts perfectly and immediately. Okay, so that's interesting. Thank you for that, Angela. So before I do want to open the call generally, but before I do, I would like to just, having downloaded all of that turmoil of my day-to-day, I do want to just bring it back into an intention, and I want to, this is courtesy of Rita Herrey's, I want to read the prayer of the 7 galactic directions, which is a shamanic prayer. And we will just open the session before we open to you all by doing that now. From the east house of light, may wisdom dawn in us so we may see all things in clarity. From the north house of night, may wisdom ripen in us so we may know all from within. From the west house of transformation, may wisdom be transformed into right action so we may do what must be done. From the south house of the eternal sun, may right action reap the harvest so we may enjoy the fruits of planetary being. From above, house of heaven, where star people and ancestors gather, may their blessings come to us now. From below, house of earth, may the heartbeat of her crystal core bless us with harmonies to end all war. From the center, galactic source, which is everywhere at once, may everything be known as the light of mutual love. Aho. An interesting prayer, that, because the more we practice being in that resonance, that harmonic resonance of peace and love and joy, the easier it is to notice when we are being pulled out into dissonance. And it feels to me that it's almost that the system is deliberately creating dissonance, as much dissonance as possible. And classically, we're being triggered in two directions, and we usually have a go-to trigger, a go-to direction, which is usually either fear and flight, and the other is anger and rage. And my go-to one is usually anger and rage. So it's interesting to really go to those places where mainly I'm zen, but then there's a trigger which really kind of sets me off like a firework. So those are the interesting things to watch for in all of this, is how we're being pulled out of this vertical alignment, this harmonic resonance, and pulled into dissonance. Because when we're pulled into dissonance and we're triggered into the adrenaline response of fight flight, we are easily controlled and dramatically weakened. Our power is dramatically weakened. So let's just switch into gallery view and see who's on the call. We've got lots of people on now, and welcome to everyone. And hi to Sass and Jeffy and people I haven't said hello to. Hi to Tokes, Diana, Chrissy, hi, nice to see you. Lisa's there. Hi, Nina. I think I've said hello to everyone else. Hi, Kazim. So it's great to see so many of you. So I really would love to just open this call up, really. Just to mention that Kevin in LA is going to try and join us. There's massive forest fires there. Zoom is not working all the time, and he is going to try and get on, but he's having some problems. He's based in California, as I'm sure you know. And it would be nice if he can join us, because he is our man in America. And obviously what's going on in America is a whole other different kettle of fish. I mean, it just feels insane in countries globally. Checking in and hearing reports of what's going on in Australia. Obviously, there's the whole issues which are happening in Russia and in Belarus. And it's just like, it feels like everywhere in the world. Peru, I know there is a nightmare. Davina McHale is living in Supapu at her retreat center in Peru, and basically is kind of trapped there, marooned there, can't leave the country. The rules are incredibly draconian when she goes to the town. So I'm getting bulletin reports from Peru as well, which so Peru has its own intensity. So I would just really love, you, anyone who wants to come on and share what's going on, your feelings, insights. I'd love to make this call quite solution orientated about what can we do, because there is that real strong call to action, and people are saying to me, sign this petition, and I'm like, did it do any good? Like with Brexit last year, 16 million people signed a petition and it didn't have any effect. So this is an interesting question. And I know for myself, I've done an awful lot of really deep inner trauma healing work to every time I'm very, very much pulled out of my center, is like really looking within to what is the resonance of this being out of control and vulnerable in the face of overwhelming external forces. And that has some strong roots of childhood developmental trauma, I know. And I personally, that's where I've been going a lot of the time, is to really just clear out all of those deep-seated pockets of fear, rage, injustice, and so on. I'd love to come to you, Sass, first, if you are happy to come on the call and open up, because I know that you have been very vocal. You've always been very vocal, and you are the vocal coach, and resonance is your thing. So I would love you maybe to open up the call, Sass, and just talk to us a bit about your take on what's happening and how you're feeling about what's unfolding. Hi, Sass. Yeah, great. Lovely to see
Hi,
you.
everybody.
Thank you for joining.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. When you sort of put out the call for looking for solutions, that's the key, isn't it? Really, solutions on an individual level. What can we do? Being swung from one pendulum to another. So I'm like you. I tend to go into the rage or the anger at the absolute lunacy that is going on around me. And even though I kind of awoke to all of this in the late 80s, 90s, and I felt so alone because there were very few people at that time that were also, I'm sure many of you were, but in terms of, reaching out to people.
Basically, you and David Icke, Sass, wasn't it? You and
David.
David
Well, I was
Icke.
with David Icke, but he had. I went to one of his first meetings, which was at the Friends Meeting House in Euston, and he put out I remember so hopeful. He put out about 100 chairs in this meeting hall, and then 8 of us turned up. And whilst we were packing up the chairs at the end, he said, "I don't know why I bother. People just aren't interested. They just don't care, do they?" And I said, "David, stick with it, because I can assure you, I just know that in years to come, there'll be thousands of people. But at the moment, it's very niche because people are waking up in their own individual time. It's like a flower, isn't it? Opening, blooming. You can't force it open. And I'm sure many of you on the call will also have close family members, friends that are finding you completely alienating you. My friends have to think twice whether to invite me to the dinner party, because they know that in the end, what happens is that even though I say, let's not have anything contentious, no contentious conversations, something always triggers a conversation. And it's always them against me, if you like. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's creating this division between those that are compliant and why aren't you following the rules like everybody else? But as things become more squashing me, as more and more rules and regulations come in, I get more and more defiant. And so even on a small scale, you're seeing all these marches all over the place. And I was very much involved in the one in London because I got a few of my friends to go there. I wasn't able to go. But two of my sisters went, and they said the atmosphere was absolutely brilliant. And when, like was David was saying, when we first started out, there was such a small, minute amount of people that were open to this or even had any awareness at all. And to suddenly see now thousands and thousands. I mean, Berlin had 4 million people. I mean, that is just incredible. So just to put things in balance, even though it seems like we're being squashed, and you seem to feel, I feel as well, is that there's no hope out of this. It looks like we're being completely shut down and squashed, but actually the numbers are rising every day of people waking up and people speaking their truth. And a lot of people, if you notice the amount of censorship that's going on all these platforms, it's just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it's so blatant. I mean, it's not subtle. So in a way, I'm thinking all this stuff was all hidden. It was all covert for thousands of years. Since Babylon, obviously it's been shut down and closed down, but it's still been going on. It's just all of a sudden, all of this that was hidden in plain sight a lot of the time is now becoming so aware to everybody. So obviously people are going, oh my God, you've got to look at it. So there's lots of really positive things going on. What I do personally myself is I just get people together locally, and we have a big market in my local town. It's a market town, and they haven't had a market. They have one every month, the last Sunday in the month, and it's normally got coachloads of people coming from all over the country. It's really popular now, and it was the first one they had on Sunday since February. But there was you think there'd be millions of people piling in. It was a lovely sunny day, but there was hardly anybody. And and the ones that were there were all wearing masks. So we got a group of us together, and we set up a tannoid system and a generator, and we stood by the side of this church, and we just started spouting forth. It was just impromptu, and we were just literally sharing whatever came to us at the time. And I actually came up with this. I wrote a song the night before. I nicked the tune, but I rewrote my lyrics to try and sort of establish what's going on for people. And it caused mayhem in the town. We had some people that were very supportive, wanted to jump on as well. And they got arrested, and all these police and all these officials were coming up to us. And so it's like this split, isn't it? It's the them and the us. That's what it seems like. But obviously, we're all in it together. And as you were saying, Rachel, as you always say, I look at what's going on with me on a unique individual level, and how's that playing out on a bigger scale. And I've just decided that I want to start restudying and relearning all about the universal laws, the 12 universal laws, and how I can operate within those laws, so that I'm operating on a different system to the one that's currently the matrix that's currently running, and helping to share with people, remembering these laws, so that we can operate within them. And then we're working with divine creation, and that we're going back into alignment with the true creators matrix, and going back into that resonance. That's one of the things I'm doing. And the other thing is, what really came to me, reminded me, was what brought down the walls of Jericho.
Yes.
It's vibration and sound. So the soldiers were walking around Jericho, stomping and marching, and all singing these sort of like rousing songs, and the walls of Jericho came down. And I feel that vibration, and in my solution would be, and is going to be, is to gather people together, even though we're not allowed to. We're not allowed to sing, and not allowed to hug, and not allowed to do anything that's sort of bringing any joy or any good feeling factor. So that's one of the things, is going against that, and hugging people like we were doing on Sunday, hugging people, cuddling, kissing, singing, all the things we're not supposed to do. So I would say peaceful non-compliance would probably be the answer. But together, to me, I see this vision. Can you imagine 1 million people, 2 million people coming together, sounding all the tones of the chakras, especially the solar plexus one, which is like setting your boundaries and saying absolutely no to all of this.
Yes.
And all of this coming together in a huge vibe tribe, sounding and toning together, and creating a field basically of resonance that is helping to bring the old system down.
Wow.
So that's my kind of way of looking at it, is what could we do that's fun as well, because it's about keeping it light, keeping the vibration light.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to go into the depression and the trauma of it all.
Yes.
When I see people walking in the fresh air in the beautiful ancient woodland on the Bodmin Moor, and you're walking along, and you think, "God, this is just so beautiful," and it just brings you back into the resonance of how wonderful Earth is. And then all of a sudden, you see all these masks all over the place, and then people jumping out with visors on in the middle of an ancient forest, and it's like, "Hello!" And so the division between people is unbelievable. So to me, it's about finding a way of bringing those two opposing sort of sides back together.
Wow. Do you know, that is so interesting, Sass. Thank you for that. And you've just triggered a memory of a very intense medicine journey that I had in Peru, an ayahuasca journey. I think it was actually the first time that I went, and it was a vision of just this, I won't call it an army, it was a sangha, really, of evolutionaries, just like this wall of people just coming across the whole of the earth, and they were just drumming and singing and playing flutes, and it was exactly as you say. So that's very interesting that you should say that, because the solution is a metaphysical. This has to be a metaphysical solution, because a lot of this spelling of the current time, like the shooting to the head, the infrared shooting to the third eye and to the I had it shot in the temple. It was like the Deer Hunter movie. I should just put one of those white bandanas on. Cool. And things like the bloodletting of the fingers, the mask. I mean, it's quite satanic, and it does feel like a spelling, like at a metaphysical level of these speaking through metaphors, controlling through metaphors, especially with school children with all their black masks.
Oh.
And of course, my son's like, everyone else will be wearing them, Mum, and I don't want to be the odd one out. So I felt I had to back down on that, because I said, I really don't want you looking like you're in a Nazi death camp.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to just keep going around the group, Seth. So maybe if you want to add further, come on later. But lots of people have been posting in the chat boxes. So Trevor and Yokebuster, I don't know who Yokebuster is, have been quite active. So Yokebuster, if you are prepared to come on the call, I'm going to ask you to unmute or to tell me that you don't want to be on, if you wish to preserve anonymity.
Hey, thanks. Hi there. Thanks for putting this together today, and it's nice to be here. Thank you very much. I do appreciate getting your emails periodically. You know what? We all know that there's rabbit hole upon rabbit hole upon rabbit hole upon trauma. People remotely on the fringe understand the depth of the corruption we're dealing with. Talking about it, beating it up with people that are already believers ain't gonna do it. Is only gonna do so much. What are you doing to make change? Okay, if you look at last weekend with the marches, pretty much all around the globe, in Japan, two big cities in Germany. Did you see the sign at the German event they had on the Saturday? What did that sign say in English? And I'm not a Trump fan, but guess what? That Trump said, "Mr. President, make our country great again." And you're not going to see that in the mainstream media. So there's lots of people protesting around the world peacefully. They're not burning down buildings and shooting and executing people. Okay, not in this part of the world anyway yet. Okay, so people are waking up. But we're banging this horse. Anybody who does any studying with different alt media sources is going to be aware of the depth of what we're dealing with in terms of the governments, the Department of Justice, the adrenochrome issue, all kinds of issue, the human sex trafficking industry, which is larger than the drug business, the governments, the Department of Justice, in fact, a huge human agency. Number one, learning to love ourselves, trying to raise our own frequency, okay, trying to lower the entropy of our species, less chaos, loving ourselves, loving one another, caring and encouraging one another in our learning knowledge about what's going on and doing stuff.
Where are you calling from, Yokebuster?
From Emsworth in Hampshire.
Oh, hi. Oh, good to see you. Happy that you're okay to be to reveal your identity.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Because your accent sounds like you could have been calling in from America, maybe.
I am from the States, but I've lived over here like 28 years. Okay, but yeah, it's human agency. It's getting stuff done. It's getting out and protesting peacefully. It's standing up. I mean, how many people on this call have been wearing a mask the last 3, 4, 5 months? Not me. Okay, I'm not going to put one on. All right. Okay, because I've studied masks. I understand what they do and what they don't do. Okay, because the people calling the shots on this scam pandemic, they have relied very little on the science. Did you see the CDC data 36 hours ago? 36 hours ago, the 170,000 people that died in America, Center for Disease Control said 36 hours ago, guess what? 6% of those died to COVID. The rest of them didn't die because of COVID. So there's lots of erroneous information out there, and the best we can do is try to create a composite based upon lots of different subsets of information to create a kind of view on the path we're traveling down. And I think, based upon the studying I do, we got a lot of good stuff in the backdrop that is taking shape and starting to gather form, okay? Because guess what? It all starts with thinking. But to get there, we got to wade through this trauma of waking people up to raise our frequency and to out the bad guys, Because this ain't about politics anymore. This whole thing, it ain't about Labor, Tory, it ain't about Republican, Democrat. It's about fighting and taking our Earth back from the evil people that have run it for thousands of years. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense at all? It's about loving one another and taking action.
Yes, no, I totally agree there that this to me is it's a very interesting strategy, because obviously I come from the world of business and I've been surrounded by dragons and
Yeah,
big business people and alpha males, and
yeah,
the world of capital, you can really, I can just really tune in and really get that this is a strategic global capitalist exercise which has got the governments of the entire planet completely scrambled, because they are caught between being
yeah, man.
wanting to show concern
Yeah,
for health, and then having struggling over economies
yeah,
breaking
yeah,
down. They've been caught between two polarities and are in an
yeah,
absolute turmoil. And all the
yeah,
while, the capitalists, who really don't obey any laws because they are on the internet and therefore beyond any single country jurisdiction, are essentially doing exactly what bullies do, which is just plow on relentlessly.
yeah,
And it's a bit like in business. If you're a very aggressive person in business, you tend to just do what the hell you want and fight your battles later.
yeah.
And just like, okay, let them sue me,
Let
and that
somebody
will
else
take a
creep
few
up. Yeah,
years, and by the time that's come, I'll have done what I needed to do anyway. So this is the really dangerous and interesting thing,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
do
yeah,
I do think that it's easy to see who's on that consortium. The strategic direction has to be planned by
yeah,
Bill
yeah, man.
Gates. Elon Musk has got to be in on it. Obviously, Google,
Oh,
YouTube,
hold on.
Zuckerberg.
Oh.
I mean,
Hey,
so if you just
hey,
think
hey.
of that as a
Oh,
global,
they're all conspiracy. Yeah,
yeah. So just taking that as a sort
I
of
get it.
global
You're right.
fulcrum, it's easy to see how this all fits together,
Yeah,
and also to create the AI solutions for policing going forward, the pharmaceutical solutions, and also critically the AI policing solutions to control mass control of
yeah,
uprisings. And if you want to sell into a market, you create a market and you create a demand. That's why Elon Musk, oh, let's all go to Mars. Well, if you're
yeah.
into space travel, you need a destination, right? So it's very fascinating. Sorry, I'm talking over
Do you know
you.
why he wants to go to Mars? Do you know why Elon Musk wants to go to Mars?
Why does
Do
he
you know
want
why Elon Musk wants to go to Mars?
to tell me?
Would you like to know?
Yes.
Because he knows how bad a job we've done with AI on this planet, scares him to death, and he wants off the planet. Okay, and Elon Musk, I like the guy. Okay, I like the guy. And guess what? They're saying on the TV recently in the news. They're like, Elon Musk, they're going to be building Teslas. Going to be building Teslas in Texas. Guess what? They ain't going to be building cars down there. Guess what they're going to be building? Take half a guess. Tesla coils. The world's changing, man. The world's changing, man. Okay, so we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. But we all got
Yeah.
to do something. We got to study. We got to get educated. Oh, I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, and your guess. How many people have watched the World Economic Forum video with their president about 2.5 months ago? The fourth turn of the Industrial Revolution, the transhumanist agenda, and the stakeholders. Fourth Industrial Revolution. This is craziness. I watched that about 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, and this is on YouTube. It's from their own site. It's not some conspiracy crap, and they're talking about how they're using COVID as an opportunity to further their agenda down this route, this 2020 2030 whatever agenda stuff, trying to get us all living in cities and trying to strip away our rights. And one of the gals on that interview, she said, well, when we have everybody's heads hooked up to the cloud and their brains hooked up to the cloud, we are going to give them space to have some free thought every now and again. And that's not me talking craziness. That's World Economic Forum, their own video production. And people, I think to
Yeah.
myself,
As I
how does
say, I
the
mean, this
Davos
stuff.
crew dictate and tell the world government, the world leaders, what they're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
man.
mean, it's all there. It's all there, to be seen. I'm just going to come back onto
Anyway,
the group.
we all got to do something. We can't sit on our
Thank
backs
you.
and doing nothing.
Thank you for joining
Yes,
and
ma'am.
for sharing and for coming live on the call, Yokebuster. Great name. So I'd like to come actually to Anita. Were you happy to come on, because I'd love you to speak into the call what you're putting in the chat box.
Yeah. So when this course started, I've been working with energies and healing and channeling and all sorts for years and years. And when the call started, I put an energy through the call, which is Symphony of Possibilities, because with the mask thing, I used to look at the conspiracy theories and feel anger, and I don't anymore. So I think I've kind of healed that, and now it's just I live my life, and I don't oppose it, because I've been drawn to read a book recently, Barbara Hand Cloud, the nine dimensions of transformation, and it explains 4D reality as a canopy, the human body, 3D, 4D reality, and which actually works to separate. So the thing is any thought you have in your vibration or any non-heart-based unity is feeding it. So number one is drop all resistance to what's going on, because the higher consciousness, that's the higher consciousness. If there is no judgment, then you can create change. And you create change from a peace, and you create change from downloading information, and you from source energy, and you create change from being in the perpetual question. Okay, is there something I can do? So you look at this area of concern. Is there something I can do right now? Is there an action I can take that will change this? These are the questions that you allow in your consciousness. And you might get an awareness of yes or a no, or a chance encounter or something. So, you know, first thing is drop all judgment. So I'm wearing a mask, I'm not wearing a mask. I don't have, I had huge judgments when it first came out. I was like, what the, no way. And then I went abroad and I kind of dropped my thinking of judgment on it, fully aware of what's going on, but there's no So that's what I would advise, you know, to, Tina, I was going to contact you. So that's, you know, that's my guidance. And it's kind of like in allowance of it all, and then asking the questions, because our thoughts create, is there something I can do to change this? What can I create today? And what's coming to me with my work is educating these kids, educating them to their power, stepping into your own power, not fighting, because fighting is that duality, that fourth dimensional field that they want. It's unifying.
Okay, so Anita, I'm going to be provocative here, because I totally get where you're coming from. And then you've said that you then want to educate the kids to have that awareness. So at what point do you stop that process, in the sense of, because there's this thing about wanting to fix the world, isn't there, about quick, everyone needs to wake up. I mean, I've seen a lot of people, everyone needs to wake up quick. I mean, does that need to happen? I mean, if we're creating it all, then presumably we're also manifesting the people who are asleep, and maybe this is just an entire test of judgment. I mean, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's exactly. So you'll know when you're in judgment and when you're not, and how it feels when you're just not in judgment and in oneness, and you're creating your lives anyway. So what if you went on to create magnificent lives in spite of? Because I don't believe that this power can even challenge, you know, their thing, and it's for sure it's going on. But I don't think it has an ability to affect true spiritual, not even the word spiritual, the true power that we have. And is it just our personal responsibility? Right, well, I'm not buying any of that shit. I'm also not opposing it verbally to anybody. I've learned to kind of like keep my opinions to myself if I don't feel guided to share them. So I think there's discernment that comes in here. And what's happened with me is the reason that I just mentioned the children is that a few 10-year-olds are coming to me because, you know, you just think, Jesus, this looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. These kids are not knowing their power, and maybe some of them are ready to, or they haven't truly forgotten who they are, and they're ready to embrace. Let me create my world with my thoughts. Let me be responsible for my feelings, my thoughts, my vibration. Because is that what it is at the end of the day? Is each person taking responsibility for how they're showing up and what they're creating, and what could we all create together is a question. What can we all create together?
Yeah.
But not from a fight energy.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. So obviously there's the fear and the flight, and then there's the anger and the fight energy. The third one is freeze, it's dissociation. And that's another danger, which is the sort of, I mean, some people might label it as spiritual bypassing, which is to kind of do nothing in the face of, so freeze and dissociation is another huge one, where it's just kind of, I'm not going to watch any media. I'm just going to, and I feel that sometimes where I live now, just live in the middle of the Peak District, where COVID doesn't exist, and none of this exists until I switch on my social media or the news. So actually, as far as I'm concerned, unless my children come back from school, unless I have an interface going into the cities and the towns, actually none of this exists for me in my world. Because like you, I have gone deep, and I've just manifested a perfect resonance home in the most beautiful, pristine chi part of the world. And I could very easily just happily potter around here for the rest of my life and not bother doing a Zoom call or getting involved in any of this. So it's an interesting one. This, do we just manifest our own perfection, our own beautiful, perfect little bubble?
But the question, though, is there something I can do to change this? And you wait for the awareness. One of the things, it's about the earth, guys. Like, if lockdown didn't show you that the earth healed itself in 10 days, our waterways cleared up and things, it was like, so I had this idea of, shall I start this movement where we just give up one day to the earth? You don't use your phones, your radiation, your cars, your this, and you go out and you appreciate the earth. This was ideas that were coming from me, which is, we were killing the earth. We still are if we go back to whatever. So,
I mean, that is the interesting thing. If you look back to last year with Extinction Rebellion and Greta Thunberg, and everyone was saying, like we're ever going to stop flying on EasyJet to plane, like that's ever going to happen. And here we are. And you're right, suddenly all the planes stop flying, and aircraft companies are going out of business. I mean, it's quite interesting how the universe works. You could say that maybe the whole COVID situation is a blessing in disguise at some level.
I think we've got to take care of the earth because we live on this planet. And that's not, it's kind of like, well, is there something I can do? And that is each person. And is there something the movement could do?
The challenge we have dealing with capitalists see everything as a resource. And therefore for them, Gaia is simply another resource to be mined and plundered and used for financial gain. And that is the big challenge, because there's a disconnect from the heart. And most hugely successful capitalists are actually highly traumatized men who have their, from a trauma point of view, they've frozen their ability to fully feel, and through childhood trauma, and therefore it is like a sociopath or psychopath. I know you know this, Anita. I'm just saying this for the benefit of the whole call. But from a trauma point of view, when you have that frozen trauma, you literally can't feel. You can't feel empathy, compassion. There's no sense of guilt or shame. You just want to win, and that's the program, is winning and more power, more money, more control, more fame. And that's the place, the spiral that Donald Trump is in, for example. I remember when we did Dragon's Den, the production team at the BBC said, we can't give you money because BBC doesn't pay well. We can't give you power because you have no control over the edit, but what we can give you is fame. And I remember seeing everyone's eyes, my fellow dragons, oh, fame, you know, because they had money and they had power, but and fame was the next big one, you know. Really interesting. Okay, Anita, thank you for that. Thank you for that wisdom, Anita Wisdom. Let's see who else wants to come on. Lisa, are you up for coming on? Anyone else who, in the last 8 minutes or so, because I'm going to end. I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat box as well.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Rachel. I'm so sorry, but Kazim here, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, has been bursting to say something. So please, would you invite Kazim to say something, please?
Oh yes, okay, Kazim. Kazim, let me ask you to unmute.
All right. Oh, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Kazim.
I am Kazim, and from what I've been seeing since, I can guess that I'm the only Black person, particularly from Africa, who has joined this program. Now, the problem we have in Africa is many people are not informed about the developments around them, and it's particularly created by the government because they have not given enough attention to education over a long period of time. And so the education system we have in the country is really terrible. And so what we do as young ones here who understand the challenges, it's to try as much as possible to put ourselves together and try to inform those people who do not understand the challenges and put them together. I founded an NGO called Youth Development Initiative. For over the years, we have been moving around the nooks and crannies of Nigeria to try as much as possible to get people to have this orientation about what is going on in the country. Now, but the problem we have in this country is there is huge poverty. And so when you try as much as possible to get people to understand the challenges, then the next question they would ask you is, if I understand it, will it bring me money? My child is out of school. I want to send him to school. I do not have the money. I haven't eaten today. There's no money. And so that's a big problem. So anything we are going to do, particularly in Nigeria or Africa, without addressing the problem of poverty, that's a big problem. You can't get any positive results out of it. Then, secondly, I want to suggest that all of us, as we are talking together now, we should share our ideas, and it should not only be limited to this platform alone. Probably we could create a group where we can share ideas so that we can empower ourselves collectively and at the same time individually when we're making efforts in order to change problems that we are facing in our different society. So if you tell an average Nigerian about any conspiracy theory, it doesn't go down well with him because that is not the immediate challenge that he is facing. He's facing real imminent challenges that go beyond thinking about common purpose or conspiracy theories. So that's my own contribution that I would like to keep in.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kazim, for coming on. That's good to have your input. And I mean, this is the unfortunate byproduct of capitalism, is that it takes all of the wealth to the 1% of the people and leaves billions of people on the planet right at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, in the real base chakra, fear, scarcity place. And so it seems to me that an unplugging and uninstalling of this capitalist program is fundamental to shift the reality for everyone on the planet. And I mean, having been deeply involved in the world of business and been part of that myself, and you know, being part of that kind of capitalist elite for many years and chasing that same dream, it's been very interesting to be in.
I've been seeing you on BBC.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Okay, so that's a very interesting one. I just want to come through to various anyone who wants to join the call in the last few minutes. Lisa, let's just come to you.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I've been listening with interest. I mean, boy, I simply don't have the answers. It's been so interesting to observe my own responses to things and see the division and anger from different parts of society and different parts of the world. And I just kind of look on and say, well, where is that in me? Where is that showing up in me? And I guess I'm just remaining curious and thinking that, you know, divide equals conquer, you know, conquering and dividing is never going to work. It's about, you know, heightening vibration and looking for the solutions, as, you know, it's a call about what is the solution. I'm all for free speech and people being able to stand on a plinth in Trafalgar Square and share their views on what's happening, but I'm not certain that is going to change stuff. If I'm honest, I'm not certain it's going to change stuff, but I don't have the answers to what is. You know, forcing people to wake up or to shout louder to wake up doesn't necessarily wake people up. I just keep asking questions and remaining curious and thinking, how can we rise our vibration above the anger, frustration, because those emotions can't be helpful in moving this forward. That's kind of what the only thing I can get to, that the anger and frustration that's coming out in the passion is lowering the vibration. So how can we heighten the vibration and move forward in a purposeful way that isn't divisive or dividing or angry? Or I don't have the answers. I really don't. I'm just staying curious and trying to stay in a more loving place, more understanding, more curious place.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wake up some days and think I'm really in that really bad Hollywood B movie.
Yeah, well, Lisa, yeah, I mean that's another interesting share, because I often wake up from dreams and I have very vivid dreams, almost like medicine journey type dreams now. And it's like you're in a dream which seems so vivid and it might be filled with people and characters and it seems so real, and you wake up from it and yet you created every single one of them in that dream. And so in this waking dream, who's to say that we are not just the master manifestors of every single other person, and it's all at us? And that's, I mean, it's such a kind of mind fuck to really think that. What if it is just one person creating it? What if I am creating it all, and it's just a reflection of my own lack of resonance to source, you know, and just showing me every last place where I'm not love, where I'm not vibrating at that pure, absolute, exquisite, perfect resonance, which you do when you get to the center of the medicine. It's the strongest I've ever experienced it in the center of ayahuasca, when you get to that place of absolute harmonic resonance, and it is just bliss, that bliss state, perfection. But you have to go through a lot of labyrinths and purging and hell realms and really looking at your demons to get to that point of light at the heart of it. So it's a very interesting one. So thank you for bringing that in, Lisa. I'm going to end the call there. And thank you all so much for coming on and for sharing your opinions. And we have these sessions on the first Thursday of every month at 5 p.m. So I would love to invite you to join. They're going to go on to the end of this year, and then we'll see what we do for 2021. But when we first started these sessions at the beginning of the year, we were just sort of worried about what might happen in the wake of the general election and this Jupiter Saturn Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. And wow, here we are, you know, 8 months on, and all of these worries are becoming reality. So I do really feel that it's important for us to have these discussion forums where we're actually speaking on Zoom as opposed to just commenting on Facebook strings, for example. It's quite good to have this conversational interaction and just share, have a forum in which we can share opinions and solutions. So thank you all for coming on. I'm really grateful for your contribution and your presence here. And hope to see you again next month. So just going to close the call now. Thank you. Sending you lots of love. Bye-bye.